Yep.
Recording now. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Is it recording?
This
Let's
is
double
recording.
check.
You can see by the little red dot here,
Okay.
and
Yep.
also by the recording. Yes.
Cool.
This is YouTube buckets. I've been working with
Uh-huh.
this a lot.
It looks like YouTube.
It does. I mean, it's kind of inspired by YouTube, I suppose. That's YouTube I use a lot.
Mm,
But yeah,
yeah.
it's freaking working. Look at. Okay, so to explain what working is, these are
Yeah.
buckets. These are the channels. I'm currently logged in to YouTube into this site. Oh, check out those failures. Lovely. Um, gapi dot auth2 dot get auth instance dot is signed in dot get is true. I'm signed in
Mm,
with my YouTube account, and so
mm-hmm.
it has access to see all my subscriptions, and these are the things
Oh.
I'm subscribed to. A fuck ton of
Yep.
things. There's 355 channels
Yep.
I'm subscribed to, and that's too many when I'm actually in YouTube. Um, it's just kind of a
Not
giant
enough.
hodgepodge of stuff, and I want to
Yeah.
like split it out into like, oh, I feel like music at the moment. Let me just see all my music channels. You can't do that in
So,
YouTube,
so
but you
part of the
can.
problem with YouTube is like the daily feed or the feed that you see
Yeah.
sort of culls. It's culling a lot of videos that are potentially good.
Yeah, the very like the channels that output a lot of stuff hide the ones that output very little, um, and like I guess you could go to those channels individually and go,
Mm,
oh, looks like this one has new content. I'll just go there and look at them. But often I find I'm after a type of content,
mm-hmm.
whether it be like music or animation or like education-y stuff.
Yep.
And so this is a way of just putting the channels you're subscribed to in different buckets, and then you can just see just the holy shit. That's a lot in education.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You're very educated.
I should put like counts on these. How many channels are there? How many in animation? That's a
Okay.
lot in animation. Oh, Jesus Christ!
But did you manually categorize these
I
channels?
manually. It was actually kind of painful. So this list on the side. So if I
Mm.
take one out, if I take these out, they appear up here if they're unassigned, and so it's easy to go from like this is not in
Mm.
any channel. Let's put it in a channel list. Um, but the issue was like if you have like a bunch of different categories all sort of near each other, it's kind of a pain to like, okay, so this is games, we'll put this in games. This is outdoors, I think we put in outdoors. There's a lot of clicks actually.
Mm.
This was animation or media, I can't remember. Media, chuck it in there.
Yep.
It would be nice to have this list of channels and like click on the category to put the top one in, and then you just click, oh, that's media, that's games, that's animals, that's ponies, that's tech,
Yep.
whatever.
But to actually categorize it, you have to go into the bucket and then
Yeah, you go
assign
into the
the.
bucket and then you click from this list which ones you want to put in.
I see.
And currently, I've allowed that you can put a channel in multiple lists, like this.
Yep. Mm.
I don't know if I actually want that. So one thing that's kind of an issue there is the things assigned to all the other buckets.
Yep.
They're just sorted by name now. But
Uh-huh.
I feel like it'd be nice to group them by which bucket they're in. But if they can be in multiple buckets, that becomes kind of difficult.
Mm.
Anyway, that's very minor polishy things. But anyway, it freaking works.
It looks great.
Yeah, when you okay, let's look at the code. Oh yeah, I was looking at like glitch does basic versioning, and you can see
Oh,
I
nice.
was working until 3 a.m.
Well,
Yeah. Okay, so how does this work? Let's go to index. There's the icon.
mhm.
This is make sure you're using HTTPS if you happen to go to the HTTP version. There's the style. What style do I have? Next to nothing.
Media queries. Nice.
I haven't tried that. What's it look like in mobile? It works.
Nice.
Sweet. Wait. Yeah, yeah. I'm pleased. Media queries are the freaking magic.
Wait, so like when I go to it, I see the sign in, and when I click, there is no sign in.
I haven't
Button.
implemented the sign in
Okay.
button. I happen to be
Okay.
signed in because I was messing around in the console, and I'm not ready to put a sign in button yet. I am, but like the amount of quota this thing eats is huge. So if we look
Yep.
at the APIs,
Yep.
YouTube API. Wait, YouTube.
Wait, is this okay to show? You reckon?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
AP. Okay.
So this is like videos list to just list. What is this? Yeah, to list data about a video. So you give it like an ID. They don't look like video IDs. List. That's a video ID. So if we want to get the content details, execute. Ask you to sign in. That's my YouTube account, and then you see the data. This is the API. So you make a call like this. YouTube videos list which parts you want of the video, the ID of the video, and then the thing you get back is this. A bunch of items. Here's the thing, and here's the contents. So I use this to get the duration, and it's in this format which I've never seen before, but now I know about it. It's ISO 1806 or something.
Okay. What does it mean?
P means the period, which is like the date, and T is the time, like the time of day, and it has a number followed by a letter. So 9M means 9 minutes, 9S means 9 seconds. So I created, and the PT is just sort of, the PT is purely because it also has months, which is also M. They don't use a different letter, they just use the same M, and the only way you can tell which M it is whether you've hit a P or a T.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you put M after P, it's months.
That's right. So P1M would be 1 month, and PT1M would be 1 minute.
And what are you using duration for in your thing?
To show the duration.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you really just want to see how long it is, and just put that little box there.
Now that I think about it, I could have just, like, I parsed this in a sort of hacky way, but I parsed this out into seconds, and then I turned those seconds into that string.
Right.
But like I could have just taken the digits and chucked and like joined them with colons.
Yeah.
Just replace the I could have done that, because like you just fill in the blanks.
Do they have hours?
Units.
Do they have H for hours? Oh, then there you go. You could just use that and interpolate.
Exactly. So this PT thing, like, it's got days, weeks, months, years. Like if you have a video that's a year long, you can represent that.
Wait. So talk me through, like, you did one of these queries, which is getting the details per video, but
yeah, we're talking about the cost of it.
Oh yeah.
These numbers, so the following list contains the part names that you can include and the quota cost for each part. I haven't actually read that page, but yeah, to read the content details is 2, file details 1, all these,
Yeah. So you have a quota of how much per day?
So per day, like, this is just to rate limit the API usage. It doesn't cost money or anything, but once you've hit your limit, you can't use it anymore. 10,000 per day.
10,000. Okay.
And I hit my limit overnight. I don't know how much. So I assume every single result
you would be effectively getting all your videos multiple times, or did you just like get them once?
If I refresh my page, it goes and fetches everything again. I have no local cache, so every time I make a change and I refresh to see the change, it goes and fetches everything again. And so that's really how I burnt through it all. But it's not surprising because
sorry, go on.
Because I have 355 channels. I don't fetch the videos if you're not looking at it, so you're only looking at it if you're looking at a bucket that contains it. So
Right.
at least it's that. But like, just clicking through these fires off a request to fetch the top 20 videos of every single one of these, and each video, I assume, will cost. I grab the content details, I grab the snippet, and there's a couple of other extra calls that need to be made. So each one of those is like 5 times 20 times up to
Right.
355, which is going to get into the thousands. Pretty.
But is there a way to do the search on a channel per date? Like you see this period versus this period, and if there's nothing there, it shouldn't cost you anything, right?
That's a good question to say, like, don't give me results any older than this date. It doesn't look like it has that.
So maybe one thing you could do is like cache the video data
Yeah.
and then only allow, like, make the user execute when they want it, so that they're explicitly going to do the request
Yeah.
when they click a button, as opposed to just clicking on the bucket, and that way they don't burn through their entire.
Yeah, and we can have like a last updated timestamp.
Exactly.
They
Yeah.
can see, oh, last updated like 10 minutes ago, and they go, oh, okay, I don't need to update. But if it's like
And
last
then
updated one
and
day,
I suspect that if you know that you're going to burn through your quota a lot because you have so much channels, you might want to like blacklist or whitelist only certain channels so that you get those updated, and the rest you don't, because you're just less interested because you have so many channels. You don't want to like burn your.
I just don't
your
put
quota.
them in a bucket if you don't want to see them.
Ah, yeah, that's
never
true.
load them.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So one thing that so it's good that you showed this. So yeah, that's the bell.
Hello.
So maybe walk through the beginnings of this, where you post sign in, and then you get access to your channels. So where does all the channels go in that unassigned bucket list? And
Yeah.
that unassigned bucket list is doing an API call to get all your channels. What's the quota on that to just get your channels that you have?
Yeah, that's channel subscriptions list.
Yep.
So what do I do for subscriptions? So I've made a YouTube JS file which abstracts away, which does all this API calls, so it can just return.
But can we just have
data.
like a notepad up to just sort of do a count, like,
yeah?
of how much API calls we're doing, just
Okay.
from
Let's do
beginning to like fetching data. So if it's like get your channels, and let's say you do that, what's the cost there of just like getting your channels?
Quota count.
Yep.
Right. So, well, let's actually walk through
Mm-hmm.
the things it does. So, first up is init. Let's start in main. It tells the controller to init. It used to inject test data, but now we're using real data, and then it tells the UI to render. It doesn't need to do that anymore because the controller init does that.
Okay.
That loads the model, which just simply pulls out of local storage the JSON of the stored data and assigns it if it has it. And that's how these buckets can persist across refreshes. Otherwise, I would lose all my work of assigning buckets. Then we initialize the G API. That is pretty straightforward. Where is it? YouTube init. Yeah, that's where I tell it my keys, API keys. This is what's associated with quota.
I see.
So by
you should
telling
probably
it
you should probably remove this part.
this is public. Like if you go to this website, you can read the JavaScript. There's nothing.
Even your set API key is public.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's no. Like I don't know. There is a private key, but I don't know what the point of it is. Like you don't use it anyway.
But doesn't this mean that just by viewing this, if I use that, I will be using your account?
So the next thing is in the YouTube data API credentials. And this could show my secret key if I tell it to, but I won't. So there's the key. You can tell it.
Yep.
to only work on certain origins. So API restrictions, website restrictions. It can only work on that website. So
I see.
another
Right.
website can't just go and steal it. You as a user using this website in your browser, in like console, can burn through all my quota. That's absolutely true. But I guess that's just a user using your site uses resources.
Right.
And
I see.
that's just the nature of having a website.
Mm-hmm.
So there is still the risk that someone can just go to this page and then in DevTools use it to scrape data, and I suppose they can do that with any site that uses this by finding their key.
Mm-hmm. So there's no quota burned through just by signing in, I imagine. Right?
No, there shouldn't be.
Okay.
That would be
So
that would be interesting. Then we.
hey, sorry, go back up to the so your GAPI loading client auth to resolve.
Right. So this loads OAuth 2. And it has a callback. So I'm creating a promise and passing the resolve as a callback, so I can just await it. It's a bit
Sure.
of a back and forth going there, but it's just to wait for the loading. And then we can initialize OAuth 2, and we tell it the client ID, and I have to tell it the scope here. That was a problem in their test in their example code. They don't pass in the scope when they're doing it, and that meant it didn't work with brand accounts, and that could be a bug on their end. I actually have followed it up with them.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So this allows you to get access to your brand account.
Yes. Then
and was the brand account specified yet, or was that like in this client ID is the brand account in that weird thing?
That no. So I'm already logged in, and it's like saved in the cookies. The actual process of logging in is authenticate. You call sign in. So this is what actually pops up that little window.
I see.
So this.
Yep.
When you click sign in, then the user sees this. So that's when they would have clicked the button, and they click their account that they want to use.
Right. Yep. Cool.
So I haven't written that yet, but I do have it is signed in to determine whether I need to, and so far it's already signed in. So yeah, this is what you saw. You saw I set the session state to be sign in.
Yeah.
But in my code, we keep going. So we're now in the active state. Let's just look at the model. So the model is a bit of it's sort of pseudocode at this point. The model is these three fields: the stored data, the downloaded data, and the session data. Stored data is persisted across sessions. So this is just the buckets. The name of the bucket, the color, and which channels are in them. Yeah. So when I say save, I just grab model.stored and save it into local storage, and load just pulls it right back out. This is my storage model, and that's it. It's been working perfectly. I love how dead simple it is. And then there's downloaded data, stuff that changes over time, obviously. So you don't need. Well, this is something I'll want to cache to reduce the number of calls, but that doesn't exist yet.
Right.
And then session. This is probably the more important one. So this struct has show help, and that's just whether we're showing this little help dialog.
Oh yeah.
A tiny bit of state, just a bool, and then sort of the main session state. And I've made this an enum, kind of like an ADT, like a Rust enum, where it can be an initializer, and that's where it's waiting for GAPI to load up, for YouTube data API to load up. Then there's sign in, which is this thing you saw, and then there's active. And then when you're in active, you've got fields. You've got what's the bucket name? Are you currently editing? And we can see that we've got a bucket which is currently active, and then we've got edit mode, two independent fields that sort of exist together at the same time.
So how did you implement the ADT in your code?
Let's see. So YouTube buckets will read it. Here. So I just So the way I implement it is I make it an object with a field called type, and you read that to see which enum it is. Is it initializing? Is it sign in? Otherwise it must be active. And then if it's one of those types, then that guarantees you the fields that are there. So because I should probably assert that it's it's
so your view switches based on that value and changes what the HTML renders, and assuming that you have the data in there.
So at the moment there's JavaScript's not compiled. I don't have any compiler support to make sure that I don't screw things up, but it's just as a mental model, it's an enum, it's an ADT. If you see it's sign in, then the other fields don't exist. You don't worry about them. So in our init in controller, so we're setting ourselves to active. So we set the type to be active, and then we set those fields. We just say the first bucket's active, and we're not editing, and then we render. And so that should just give us a completely blank thing because we haven't loaded any video content yet. We don't even know what our channels are. So here we go, load subscription, and this should be the first quota costing thing. So we call load subscriptions, which well, I have so much logging, I should probably just clean that up. Good. Okay, so while trues are scary, especially if they're doing network requests. So I've got a count that, like, I'm not going to do this more than 10 times. Because each time I'm requesting 50 channels. If you have more than 500 channels, like whatever.
Right, so the subscription API only allows you to paginate your requests or something. Can't you just request? So,
yes, they must be paginated.
So you specified the amount of channel. Max result.
Max result specifies the
default
maximum number of items.
I see.
Defaults to 5, which is nothing, up to 50, and I think 50 is the max for like every one of these APIs.
So this is per channel. You're requesting 50 videos.
No,
from.
This is my subscriptions.
Oh, okay. So how many channels?
50 subscriptions at a time.
Yep. And what was the quota cost for that?
So I'm fetching the snippet part, which is usually 2. Yep. And I assume this is per item. So that should be 100.
So if it's 50 items and you get 50, it's 50 times 2?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So with
subscriptions.
Yeah, how many subscriptions do you have? 500. So we'll do 500 times 2.
355.
355? Is that how many subscriptions do you have?
That's how many I have. Yeah.
Okay.
That is 710.
Yeah. Is it? Yes. Yes, can do math. Yeah.
Yay, math.
Okay. So this is happening.
This is happening on page load.
On page load.
Yeah.
Can't you just internalize that so that you save that internally?
I haven't implemented caching at all. That is the thing to do.
Okay. But once you've got that, unless you've actually changed your subscription list, it's not worth fetching again. So you save that quota.
I think making these fetches explicit buttons that the user presses is probably a good idea. Like, it's not how most websites work, but I think it's worth trying just to see, is this fine? And then, because otherwise I could go and fetch it every time, or like fetch it every other hour or something. If it hasn't been fetched in an hour, fetch it again. Like that's pretty reasonable. That just means if you spam refresh, it won't use up quota.
I like the idea of that, and like you have the buttons for the different delegate tasks, but then you could effectively have a do all button where you just like refresh everything if you want to.
Yeah, so it's like data refresh button up here, and then in here it can be like refresh the subscriptions.
Exactly.
And then in here, in the view, you can have like refresh videos.
But yeah, making it up to the user would be better. And I think like even per channel, you could have a button to say refresh on that specific channel. So if you're interested to just get specific channel data, it's up to you.
So like here with
As a-
this channel, it's like have a refresh button. I don't know.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I I don't feel like asking the user to manage this loading is ideal. Like I think that is a bit burdensome for the user, but it's also burdensome for me as a developer to come up with a heuristic and be confident in it. So it's more in the developer's interest to put the burden on the consumer, and I think
No, I understand
that's
that.
fine. Yeah,
But like with this, your quota is the burden that will limit you to actually
to even provide a website.
Exactly. If you have
That's right.
way too many subscriptions and you can't even do a one-off thing,
And with a button, that's easy to inject like a throttle there. Like you
know what
can't
you should
keep
do?
clicking this every minute.
You should do this. You should calculate the quota and display on the page.
That is a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty easy to just look at any one of these calls to YouTube and then retroactively do the.
Exactly.
It doesn't tell you the quota that it used up, does it?
Maybe there's a quota API.
Yeah, but subscription lists, mine should execute.
Quota.
Results per page. Nothing.
No. That sucks. That's okay.
Yeah.
You just write your own model to do that.
Yep.
Okay, so you've got your channels.
So that loads a packet of, and then I pull out the snippets parts of each item, and then there's a next page token. So that's important if you want to get the next page. You pass it in as a page token.
It returns a generator that you yield?
I am a generator. I am an async generator.
Ah.
Check that out. Check out this syntax. Have you ever seen that before?
Wait.
I'm a static function of this class.
So,
it's an async generator.
What?
Yeah, that means
so an async generator allows you to yield in your code.
That allows you to for-await it.
Ah.
Each one of these is, a promise.
I see.
I'm just for-awaiting each one of these as they come in.
So instead of doing promises.all, so that's how you do it with await.
I don't want promises.all. I want.
Yeah, exactly.
As
but
it
if you
comes
didn't
through,
do it with
I want to be updating the UI.
You need to do like promises.all and then a list of promises. But if you make it an async generator, you can then for-await a list of a generate. Yeah, okay. Ah, that's neat.
Yeah, I don't want to wait for all of it to finish before I do anything. Here, I'm re-rendering as they come through.
So this block of for loops is happening asynchronously for each YouTube.
That's right.
Can you see that in the network tab? Like when you...
Let me just put in the log back in. So let's just log.
Yeah, because effectively all of these should happen at once, right? Like logging. That's really neat.
And it does. So we can see nothing.
Maybe your quotas.
Maybe.
Uh-oh.
Or maybe it hasn't updated to that code yet. Okay, put the login in.
How do you know if the API fails? Like, is there a way to catch that error? And then,
yeah,
do you have any?
We were seeing those errors before. All those red lines, they were network failures.
Ah, okay. So it is getting there.
Where's my packets? Where's my packets? Maybe it's failing. The fuck?
So can't you just...
It's probably failing.
Wait, go back to the code. Go back to the code. Yeah. Can you just try that and then catch and then console log into the catch. Yeah.
Try this catch.
Try that and then catch, yeah. Because if it's failing, maybe you can catch the error and see what the error is.
Catch.
Yeah.
My hands are cold, it makes it hard to type. Okay, it's just waiting indefinitely. Seems it's away, it's not.
What's count? Can you just console log count?
Well, that's just gonna be 1, since we've only seen back once. I'm kind of hesitant to keep refreshing because it uses the quota.
Ah, yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
What is this? What the fuck is this? All this same site stuff is not me, it's the YouTube API. So I can't deal with that, unfortunately.
Okay. That's interesting.
Well, my site doesn't work anymore. So that makes it harder to develop. So, what? Oh, hey, look. This is... This is... tells you the stack. And so it should... So that's YouTube API load. Where's the call to... That's the favicon. I guess. There's an XHR, but it's not coming from me. So that's probably the load. You know what would be really good is if you could inject like lines in here. So you could say like, I'm up to this point and then I want to see what network requests happen after that.
Oh, so the network tab is actually in order of requests?
There's the waterfall, there's the timeline. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like it's not even...
Can't you just do it on the console? The actual await GAPI thing, see if that's... Page token.
What? Oh wait, it did await. That's why.
Well.
Damn it.
Well.
Fuck. This is hard.
That's alright. It's just live coding.
Right.
What the hell?
Oh, it's a fake promise.
MBIB.
It's got a dot then.
Wow, these types are... these variable names.
Type. Yeah. So I'm not getting anything. Nothing's happening. Why?
Can you check your quota? See if you're over?
Yeah, maybe. Likely. Where's my quota? Where did it go?
But I thought you said you get a quota over error.
Yeah, I was getting that. I was getting like 403. Quotas.
3,000. Oh.
Yeah, that's about 10,000. Okay, so I was getting quota over error, and let's refresh this. I'm not seeing any activity here, so that's kind of telling me that I'm not able to use it anymore. It's like no, oh, that's 1 hour.
Yeah.
So if it's like no data, that means nothing's getting through.
Scroll down.
The other things are they're all empty.
Oh yeah.
I think queries per day is no data. I don't know why that is. I can't. Yeah, there's no more.
Go overview.
Can I get quota?
Yeah.
Can I get more quota?
Oh, there you go. There you
hello.
go.
There we go. Give me more. What?
Oh, okay, so you just do it over a day. Yeah.
Edit quotas. This one. You must.
What? Seriously?
I mean,
Okay.
it's meant to prevent bot spam, so
Yeah,
makes
fair
sense.
enough. Let's not put that in.
Queries per minute. So this is really weird. How queries per day is 10,000. Queries per minute is 1.8 million. Queries per 100 seconds is 3 million. What?
That makes no sense. So you can basically DDoS in a minute or a second, but you can't over a day. Fair enough.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Why would this number be higher than that number? Anyway, you wanted
Okay.
to see overview or something? Anyway, but yeah, basically I can't use my site anymore.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Overview. Oh yeah, that's the overview. Check out that traffic.
No, it's pretty cool.
0.2 per second. Oh yeah, I haven't seen AWS. Oh, you said AWS doesn't have keys or something? I don't know.
Oh no, it was projects for projects.
I got these are my projects, so I'm
Right.
on for YouTube buckets.
Yeah, we don't have that.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, gotta wait.
Anyway, that's okay. Yeah, it's up to you. Like, do you want to keep going or leave it to the next time when we actually can see the stuff?
Yeah,
it's pretty painful developing then if you. I guess what you'd have to do is mock the API calls and pretend like you get back stuff, and that way you can just keep developing. So like these GAPI.auth to maybe you could write like not
like only for that, but also for just testing. Like I have no tests.
Yeah.
And if I had a fake thing, then at least I could manually test without.
So if you think about mocking and like potentially using this call sign.
Simple.
Yeah.
Super simple. You just return static data, which I've already like captured, and you can grab so easily just using this thing. You just copy paste that back in.
So how would you mock the YouTube class?
Whoops, wrong button. I guess in main I would just say.
Where do you instantiate the YouTube class?
It's a singleton.
Oh, okay.
You just import it and it exists. It's just a bag of functions.
Yeah, so you can just create a mock YouTube that just gives you back all your stuff for all the method calls. You just mock them all out to return your static data instead. And if it's got the same interface, then your tests can like run.
Let's try something. Let's try something. The craziness. Can I mutate an exported variable? Hands is not a function because I didn't import it. Hands is. Oh yeah, it's not on YouTube. Hey, it worked. It worked.
Cool.
Look. Ah.
So your function is mutating it to be.
I can mutate YouTube to be something other than what you exported as. So what you export is the variable, not the objects. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I mean, yeah, you could. There's many ways you could do that, but you effectively can just write your mock and then flip it, switch it based on if you're in test mode or something.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. So you'd have like. replace with mock.
Oh, yeah.
Mock.
So why don't you write, I mean, this is all up to you, but what I would do is
Yeah.
maybe let's just write up a bunch of things that you might want to do next,
Mm-hmm.
like mocking it out, displaying the quota,
Yeah, just
potentially
plan it out.
caching the
Yeah,
YouTube channels.
that's a good idea. So let's have a notes file.
Mhm.
Stuff to do. Counters. Usage.
Mock the API calls to YouTube.
For non-expense.
Quota, sorry, caching, yeah.
Data.
And maybe explicit button calls for user to do the refreshing. Yep. Nice. Anything else that you thought of?
Sign in.
Oh yeah, sign in page. Yeah. That's pretty good.
That was really good. I'm happy to finish it there.
No worries. I reckon you would I reckon if you try to map this to one of the frameworks like React or something, or Vue,
That would be
I
really
think you'll have
interesting.
a pretty good time because you've already thought about the model.
I think
and
I
the
would
models
have a
already
better
existed
time.
in these frameworks.
I get a lot of difficult, like, this model is great. I love just having a model that's super simple and in one place I can see the whole application. But where it gets really hairy is like when I'm working on, so this state thing is new. Before it just used to be active buckets and editing, but now I have all these like assigning the states, and injecting that in the middle of things was kind of hairy because everything that reads the session now like changes how they have to read it, and all the controller things that act on it had to change as well. And I guess because it wasn't its own little component, I couldn't just put it in something that wraps it, and all that stuff inside would have worked the same, sort of agnostic to their container. But because everything works on this global singleton model, any structural change you do affects the entire subtree, and that's kind of stressful to deal with, and to have to keep thinking about the higher level you change your data model, the more pain it is. You touch everything underneath it, and that's quite unfortunate.
Right. Yeah, I'd be interested in porting this to like a different framework with you if you want.
I reckon
when
I'll
ready
really
to do
miss the model UI thing, where I just call it re-render. Re-render is magic. I freaking love it. Where does it come from? Render comes from main. So I love it so much just because it schedules a render. It just, on the next frame, do the render. So I can call it as much as I like. I call it all the time. Every time the model changes, like in these for loops, I just call re-render. And it's like, I don't have to care about the cost.
That would get very expensive though if you start having like a lot of stuff.
It doesn't.
Instead of just
that's the thing.
re-rendering the specific components that you...
I'm
not sure who does that.
In terms of rendering all the things, yes, that is true. It's calling every single render function.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
every single one of these.
I think in Vue and like those other things, they're just rendering the things that actively change.
But I don't think this stuff is costly. Like, it is wasteful. It is wasteful to call this sort of redundantly, but it's really not that bad. And I don't think you'll ever notice it as a user unless you really... Unless your UI literally has millions of elements in it.
Yeah, I guess I don't know that lower level costs in terms of Chrome or a browser executing JavaScript for, DOM element changes. There is a cost involved. It'd be good to like investigate the costs involved with that and seeing like what how much, what's the sort of like
sorry, I
cost
didn't get up
in?
to the next part, which this doesn't touch the DOM if it doesn't change. That's another
Oh,
reason. It calls this
okay,
function.
right,
It generates all this HTML string,
yeah,
but the magical lit HTML, where is it? Yeah, this
yeah.
magical thing, lit HTML,
Hmm.
will recycle DOM if there's no changes. So the diff is
Okay,
still
that I don't
happening.
get.
The diff is still happening. All the DOM that's actually in the page, this lit
Yeah.
HTML goes, okay, you want a div with this class, this channel,
Uh-huh.
in this position, and it
Hmm.
says it's already there. I don't need to like touch anything. I'll only touch the things
Oh,
that have changed.
okay. So lit HTML does do that
It
sort of
does the
diff.
diff
Okay,
in the
okay.
real DOM. If it weren't, then I'd agree with you. It's kind of expensive to be touching DOM so much.
Yeah, I
That
see.
would be bad. But because it's got the
Well,
virtual DOM,
yeah,
just like
yeah, yeah,
React,
right. Yep.
yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. I thought it was literally re-rendering every single change,
If
all
it
the
was
DOM.
re-rendering every single change, I wouldn't need to use lit HTML. I could just pump the string into
Mm,
into the browser, which I did do in some other project where I wanted to like use it like lit HTML and I didn't care about performance.
right.
Actually, no, it
Okay.
wasn't a performance issue because it was a single render at the beginning. There's no re-render, so it was like just swing. It's fine,
Mm.
except for cross-site scripting attacks, which I had a function to guard me for. Um, yeah, don't just inject strings into your HTML.
No.
Because you might inject a script tag or something, put in maliciously.
Excellent. All right. Maybe let's end it here.
Yep. Oh man. Oh man. Ah. Ah. Okay. Yeah.